How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. I want to talk about being reliant on an inmate. It's dangerous. And the reason why I want to discuss it is because me and Connie touched on it when we were discussing obligation. So I want to explore the next level up. So you have being obligated or the feeling of obligation. But now what's next is that feeling of being reliant on that inmate. And I want to go over a few scenarios and basically just tell you how dangerous being reliant on an inmate can be, how it can be used against you. Now, guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you brave men and women that work in corrections, so please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. We're going to go to our sponsor, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about being reliant on the inmate population. Stand by.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Guys, inmate manipulation is a course that is highly needed. It's the process that's so slow moving and subtle that you don't realize it's happening. When inmates choose to manipulate, they manipulate our need to react. Situational awareness and insight is going to save your career. It's going to save you from doing foolish things. Listen to your gut. So the more insight we have, the more we can recognize what isn't so overt, and we can correct our behavior before we fall into a trap that we can't get out of. If you allow an inmate to pull you out of your prescribed role, you are opening up a door for a host of problems. Inmate manipulation, the psychology behind inmate manipulation. Available now. Link in description. Thank you guys for listening to our sponsor. So the feeling of being reliant on an inmate may be more permanent than the feeling of obligation. And we have touched on how obligation can happen. You know, basically it's a tit for tat. I do for you, you do for me. And then that feeling of obligation should be lifted the moment you pay it back. Again, still not something you want to get yourself caught into. That's why you got to be careful when inmates use the words like favor or I only do it for you. Those words are being very strategic in how they're employed. But being reliant is a different beast. And as me and Connie had our discussion, it opened up in the dialogue. Now, mind you, our dialogue's never scripted, so we never know where the dialogue's going to go. And briefly, we did discuss being reliant and how our need for them can place them on a pedestal in which they feel that they cannot so easily be replaced. And it really does open up the door towards manipulation. And we even discussed how we praise the inmate, how we value the work that they do for us could also cross us into territories that we don't want to go into. You know, some facilities have inmates that are very good with maintenance. And we all know that the facilities run on inmate labor. A lot of facilities do run on inmate labor. And we have inmates that are very good at what they do. And what happens is the facility or their detail supervisor winds up becoming dependent on them. They wind up depending on the inmate and what they're able to do. And the inmate will be aware of that. The inmate will be aware that, okay, the facility's dependent on me or this staff member's dependent on me. So I've just proven my worth. And then when the inmate does something that they shouldn't be doing, sometimes the supervisor of that detail may hesitate before writing that inmate up. Or sometimes the agency may say, well, if we write him up, we don't have a plumber. So therefore, we may not be able to have this inmate go to lock. So this inmate's effort to do the job, his ability or her ability to do the job, has put them in a position where the facility has been solely dependent on that inmate and what that inmate can produce. And that puts us in a very bad situation. Puts us in a situation where we can easily be manipulated and taken advantage of. I mean, I've seen officers that do the right thing and will write up an inmate, for doing something foolish, and then turns out that the supervisor will overlook that write up. Just, you know what, man, sorry, I need that inmate. The inmate does this for us. We can't afford to have that inmate written up at this time. And now look what the staff supervisor just said. We need that inmate. We need to explore that if we find ourselves feeling that we need an inmate. We need to really explore that and ask ourselves, why did we just say that, or why are we feeling that? We're putting the inmate on a pedestal that's really alleviating our ability to be objective with that inmate. We're supposed to be firm, fair, and consistent. And this is challenging that at a very, very high level. That sense of dependence now has also weakened your sense of authority over that inmate. And that's very key that we remember that, because that is the next level up from feeling that sense of obligation. I also want to mention one more thing that also came up in the dialogue, which was how grateful we are to inmates when they do something that is expected of them. We have to make it known at all times that we don't need that inmate to get the job done, that we can always find another inmate to do it. They'll do what is directed of you, and if they can't do it, then you get somebody else. But the key is sometimes we can praise an inmate to a point that it puts them on this pedestal, and they themselves will okay, they need me. It's the overly praising of the inmate. Something as simple as, man, thank you for doing this because I couldn't get no one else to do it. Or thank you for doing this, man. I'm forever grateful. I'm in your debt on this one. I mean, think about what you're actually saying to that inmate. Think about that. So sometimes being grateful is okay. I mean, hey, thank you for getting the job done. Appreciate it. Boom. But thank you for getting the job done. You're the only person that I can call on to do that. Or, thank you for getting the job done because if it wasn't for you, think about what that says. Think about where it puts that inmate. But more importantly, think about where it puts you. It puts you in a position to be reliant on that inmate. So again, just want to make sure you're aware of certain feelings that you may have when it comes to needing an inmate to get a job done. And also, if you have to write that inmate up, how do you feel about that? The moment you feel that you can't be objective when dealing with that inmate, the moment you feel that something's not fair or consistent, then you need to go back and ask yourself why. Never put yourself in a position to be reliant on an inmate where you find yourself saying, I need that inmate. And that's both at a personal level and at an agency level, at a facility level. As always, guys, the show is Teared Up. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.